Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Primetime. I'm your host, Jeremy, as always, joined by my co-host, Malachi. It's another Supernatural Sunday. How you doing tonight, Malachi?
Doing pretty good. I thought it was Supernatural Wednesday.
It's
Winchester Wednesday.
It's
Okay.
Winchester Wednesdays for podcast release, Supernatural Sunday for lives. Come on now, come
I
on now.
got you. Okay. I was busting your balls just a little bit.
Uh, I got kids; they don't need no more busting. But that's right, folks. We're back once again to talk two more episodes of Supernatural, though next week you may get a bonus. Just saying, you might get a bonus next week. We'll see. But, folks, and we are getting into good stuff now. I will say that much. We are getting into some good stuff now. I can't wait to get down to it. So, since Malachi gets the uh, odd numbers, I'll let him go first in this one.
Okay, so we're looking at season 1, episode 19, Provenance. And I might be fucking that up because Dean fucked it up a couple times in this episode.
No, you
But,
said it right.
okay. So it starts out with these two, the couple getting hot and heavy, right? And they're looking at a photograph, big old portrait, like some shit most of us can't afford. And there's this dude just like awkwardly staring at this little girl. Um, and then they're getting ready for the hanky panky. And they notice, well, they don't notice. We see that the fucking creepy dude in the painting starts moving. So, cut to, they're dead, right? They both get hacked up. Now we're into a bar scene where Dean is getting Brandy's number, and he's telling them that he is a reality TV producer. So he's, lying to these girls in a bar, getting
He
some numbers.
he he didn't specify reality, I don't believe. I think he just said producer from Los Angeles.
He said reality television show.
I missed that. I was dealing with kids during these fucking episodes, so I had to rewatch my episode. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I was packing fucking jalapeno poppers. But cut to Sam cockblocks Dean over this murder story. And Dean's like, well, that just seems like a murder story. But then their dad had it written in the journal, and this same murder had happened, unlocked windows, doors, just people dying in upper New York State in 1912,
um,
1945, and 1970.
where did this episode take place? I want to hear the name of the city.
I don't have I was fucking busy today. Upstate New York.
Folks, this episode took place 10 minutes from where I grew up in New Paltz, New York.
Well, there you go. This one's
I
cutting home for Jeremy.
I didn't remember this. I didn't remember them saying that. I didn't remember that when I first went to watch this episode. I was like, did they say New Paltz? And I fucking rewinded, and I was like, holy fuck, they said New Paltz.
Well, this one touched a little closer to home for you then.
Too bad it could have been a little bit better episode, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest. They show up at some super fancy yard sale. Not a yard sale, but it's like an art gallery sale.
Auction house. It was an auction house.
And it's for wasps. So white Anglo-Saxon fucking prick. There we go.
Protestant. But yeah, Protestants. Yeah, but yeah, Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
But they're questioned because they don't, they roll into the parking lot. There's like Lambos and fucking Ducatis, all this weird shit all over the place. Even though their fucking car, I would say, is way nicer than everybody else's. But they are not dressed for the occasion. So they're questioned. And they say they're art dealers and they're here for the private showing. So the dude hosting this art gala or whatever you want to call it is seems to be interested in Sam, while Dean's just like piling shit in his face, looking ridiculous. Right after Dean was hitting on the girls in the beginning. Now, like, Sam's getting hit on. And we find out that Sam has actually taken an art history class to pick up chicks back when he just started college. And then we cut to, they go to their hotel for this episode, right? And it is like a 1970s disco swinger fucking, this thing looks pretty crazy. Huh?
Looks pretty cool. I'd be down with that for a couple nights.
Yeah, but they give each other eyes. Like, let's not think about doing any gay stuff. That'd be incestual. But so Dean asked Sam about Providence, blah 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 blah. Dean misspoke it, like I said, and Sam basically gives a definition that it's the history of an art piece, which I don't know why they need their own special word for that. And what do we got here? So Sam takes the rich girl, the art gala dude's daughter, on a date for the info. And, Sam's handed the wine list, and she's like, I'll just take a beer. And so now we know Sam and this girl have something in common. And the girl doesn't date either. Sam's kind of holding off because his girlfriend just, got held up to the ceiling, lit on fire, and he's still holding on to that. Even though he was trying to date Meg, didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. But I guess Meg would have added to it. Is that, you think Meg would have added to that? Like the next girl he wants to date turns out to be a demon?
Meg comes back in next week, so we'll talk about that then. But
No, I'm just saying, like, over Sam not wanting to date.
oh,
I think that's
he gives his reasons later in this episode. But
yeah. I know it's from his girlfriend, but they find out that this killer thing is this said painting we see first thing in the episode, and then we see a parkour break in over the fence into this art gala, fucking picking locks, burning the goddamn painting, cut it out and burn it. And then the fucking painting, they don't see it, but the painting just like repairs itself.
which I
It
thought was
just,
pretty fucking cool. I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool fucking CGI for the time, especially. But as I check these chicken wings, okay, we're good. So after this whole break-in scene and everything goes on, Dean fucking lost his wallet. Which, like, how the fuck in those tight-ass jeans he was wearing? Give me a break. But, so they go back first thing in the morning to this art gala, and they got to find Dean's wallet so there's not fingerprints and identification and all these fake passports and shit all over the place. And then that fucking rich girl comes back and sees him. So Sam's talking to her while Dean's searching around, and Sam's saying like, "Hey, yeah, we got to get out of here today. Sorry, I can't date you." And then Dean pops in, "Let's stick around. Here's that 20 I owe you," telling Sam that he found his wallet. But then, as Sam's talking to this girl, he sees the fucking painting that they had just burned in perfect condition and starts freaking out. So then they go find out about the family. There's a new. They go to some college and find out like, well, what the fuck's up with this? How's this painting pop back into life? And they go to a historian at the college down the street, and they find a newspaper article where the old man Isaiah offed his entire family, and he was a barber, so he did it with the straight razor, and then offed himself. So,
Yeah,
and they were all cremated.
The good old Colombian necktie, as Dean put it.
Yeah. And they were supposedly all cremated, so it's like, how the hell is this fucking ghost still kicking around? And then we find out that Sam's been a little bit of a grumpapus around Dean, and it's because there's no whoopee going on with Sam. So Dean keeps trying to hook Sam up with this girl throughout the whole episode. And Dean says, Jessica wants you to be happy, right? So Sam's thinking about it. So then they sell this painting, and Sam finds out that they had sold this painting, even though the girl said that they're not going to sell this painting. And fucking now they're in a mad rush to get to the place before whoever the fuck bought the painting dies. And Sam's new girlfriend's like, well, I'm coming with you. And Dean's stoked about this, but so she shows up, and the first thing Sam asks is, what kind of house doesn't have salt? Right? Because this ghost had killed the fucking lady. And little girl missing. No, that's the next part. Oh, here we go. Sorry, guys. Painting kills new owner, and then the ghost is like still moving when the girl sees the fucking picture. So then, she comes back and she covered for him for the police, but she wants to know what the fuck is going on. And she comes and tags along on this adventure now. And fucking Sam's like looking at the painting when they finally find the painting. And she's like, aren't you afraid of this thing? Isn't it going to kill you? Only during the day, or only during the night. Oh, they notice, they're looking at this photo, and the razor is closed in the painting, but on the picture they have from it from history, it's open. And then the painting also has another painting in it of a graveyard, which that's their next thing to go to. They show up to this, what do you call those things? Like a mausoleum?
Yeah,
Mausoleum. So they show up to this mausoleum, and the mausoleum I thought was pretty fucking creepy. It's got like
they usually
a whole bunch of the
They usually are pretty creepy.
Yeah, this one had like a bunch of toys and shit in it, all behind glass. It had all the urns, and then they find out that one of the urns is missing, and it's the fucking dad. So now they're going to research, and they find out that the county got the right to the dad. He wasn't actually fucking cremated. So
other members of the family did not want him put in the mausoleum because he put shame upon his family.
So now they're on the fucking hunt for buffalo wings for wherever the fuck this dad is buried. Let me catch back up here. So they go and they burn the bones. I'm pretty sure that happened. And then they go back to just burn the fucking painting. And Dean's like, well, here, you guys go have some fun. I'll sit out here while you guys have your little date burning this painting. And then he blasts some fucking romantic music. And they're in there, and all of a sudden, the fucking whole house is like poltergeist, right? Shit flying everywhere. Then they see this creepy-ass little girl walking towards them, and it's dragging a doll, which, keyword, doll somewhere else, and it's got the straight razor about to attack Rich Girl. So the girl tells Sam, like, hey, sometimes these fucking dolls, they're made of like human hair from the people who had died, and they make them in the exact fucking image of who they died from.
No, that was actually toys back then. They just made toys with hair of whoever owned them. So like when the daughter got her haircut, like every time she got a haircut, like they would take that hair and use it on the doll.
Okay, so it was like before she died.
Oh yeah, before she died, yeah.
But then we get into some fucking crazy scene where the fucking ghost is attacking him. Dean's trying to get back to the mausoleum to fuck this doll up, and he can't break through the glass for whatever reason, has to shoot it. Tense, 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 tense. And then, fucking Dean shoots through the window, burns the doll, the girl's saved. Within the nick of time, cut to, everything's good. We're all good. Paintings, ghosts, gone. They in the morning when they reunite, they find out that there was a newspaper article saying that the girl did it, and then Sam's girlfriend is just like thirsty there, like overly wanting Sam, and Sam kind of blows her off.
Fucking fool. Fucking
But
fool. She was gorgeous.
Sam does go back for the kiss.
Mm-hmm.
End of scene. 1.5 hours jalapeno poppers, 275 for 15 minutes afterwards. Boom! I give it a 3.5.
I mean, you can't blame these ladies. They gotta go for that Winchester wiener. I mean, come on now. It's fucking Sam and Dean. There's a reason that women have been freaking lusting after them for 20 years now. But, and I will say, you forgot to mention, there is a Da Vinci Code reference at the auction house the second time they go back. And this is before the movie was a thing even. This is when the book was just a thing.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry, this week I was kind of struggling. Like, we had people over, so I was fucking cooking and shit. But what was the Da Vinci Code reference?
I forget the exact lining of it, but Sam made a reference to it, like, and Dean looked at him like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "It's a book." And Dean even said, "He's like, oh, I'm waiting for the movie on that one."
How long did the movie take to come out?
I mean, this episode had to be what, 2005, 6?
I think it was 2006 when these ones came out.
What? How takes a long pup and freaking? Oh,
I never actually saw that movie.
I never saw all of it. I saw part of it, but the movie actually came out in 2006 as well. So, but it probably came out like in the fall of 2006. So this probably was like a spring 2006 episode. So I mean, they had to know the movie was coming out, and that's why Dean probably like they probably put that line in for Dean because of that. But
so it was promotional.
Yeah, exactly, in a way. But and I mean, I don't know if you remember our Urban Legends bracket we did on Global Strangeness years ago, but the Crying Boy painting kind of pays resemblance to this episode. That sets that whatever house it's in catches on fire eventually.
What was the first thing you thought? Because like when they burnt the painting, I was thinking like maybe just burn the fucking frame, right? Like
that crossed my mind.
Wrong, but yeah, that was the first thing I thought of.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That thought crossed my mind at one point. Like it's the frame because I forgot how this episode went. But then I was like, and then like I thought about the doll eventually. I thought about the like toys eventually. I'm like, it's gonna be one of the toys. It's gotta be one of the toys that has like part of the kid on it, like a tooth or something or a piece of hair. But
yeah, as soon as I saw the toys, I was thinking the same thing in the mausoleum.
But yeah, it's creepy as shit. They actually used to do that. You can go to mausoleums and still see toys behind glass because they used to do that for kids that died.
Yeah, that would be a little weird.
But I mean, you usually can't get in mausoleums unless like you are part of the family and have the key.
Yeah, well, unless you fucking pick the lock like they did.
Well, I mean, if you could do that, if you do that shit and you're wasting time going to mausoleums, then I feel bad for you. But yeah, and I would give this episode easily 3.5 stars. It was a decent episode. It wasn't horrible, and Sam being a little bitch about getting some pussy though, that pissed me off.
That's what I was thinking about, right? Is like, his girlfriend died. It would take some time. But then the next girl he tries to hook up with turns out to be a fucking demon that's like hunting him and his dad. I thought that might have had something to do with it as well. Where he's just
I
like,
mean,
he even tells her, like, every fucking girl I know, including my mom, dies.
yeah, no one says Mr. Romantic, honestly, but it's just I don't know. I feel like it could have been done better. I feel like he needs to get laid, but he will eventually. It bec and that see that's the thing that pissed me off about both these episodes. That scene in the beginning where they're getting hot and heavy
Uh-huh.
could have been done so much better if this was like a Netflix show to begin with. If Netflix existed like that back then, compared to being a CW show.
You wanted to see some skin action.
Oh, it comes into effect more in the second episode, but that we're talking about tonight. But yeah, the CW having this show and making it like PG-13 is shit kind of pisses me off. Like I'm like, I want
Well,
this
that
show
was
right.
that was every TV show back then, dude.
Yeah, minus HBO shows, but yeah,
But we have to remember, like, what was out. There wasn't these like binge watch series at this point in time. I think The
yeah.
Sopranos was the
I
only
mean,
thing, but like Lost didn't happen until fucking 5, 6 years later, and then Breaking Bad.
I mean, HBO had plenty of shows at this point. I'm pretty sure Boardwalk Empire was out of that. Actually, I know Boardwalk Empire was out at that point. I know Carnival was over by that point. I'm pretty sure that Rome show was over by that point. So HBO had plenty of watchable shows, and they
Yeah,
all showed
I
a lot.
didn't see any of those.
They all showed gracious nudity. So, but that's
I
HBO for
didn't.
you.
I didn't see a lot of those, and I think that like this was a weird time, like especially in the middle of Supernatural, where a lot of shows got fucking canceled, even though people would binge watch the fuck out of them afterwards. But we have to
Well,
remember, in like this version of media, this was like where we're at right now. It was cable. You watch once a week. You had to be there at 8 o'clock, and there were commercials.
and and
So,
then once they hit 100 episodes, you can catch them in reruns, but that's hard enough to do because most people work during the day.
hmm but then everything went to streaming, and I think really for this show in general, that's where they got a lot more fucking like cliffhangers and shit. These are all kind of one-off episodes because it's just like they didn't see fucking streaming and
Well,
everything coming in the future.
it was continual storylines, which is like what all dramas were back then, and to this day. It was continual storylines, and there were cliffhangers. There were cliffhangers to the next episode sometimes because they did that. The cable TV made cliffhangers for fuck's sake, but it's
Yeah,
just.
maybe mainly only like the fucking season finales though, because
I mean,
like
in 2006, you could watch these on demand. Like maybe not every episode, but you could watch a majority of episodes on demand. I got on like every channel had like an on demand thing if you had cable, if you had a box.
yeah, I mean I think me and a lot of the rest of the world were in the point where like I think we were actually kind of early streaming shit, but that wasn't until like fuck 2012, and we had our like my parents weren't right. We had our fucking computer hooked up to our TV, dealing with
Yeah,
janky ass websites and like ABC's app and all sorts of shit.
I mean we there was
Good
a,
times.
my parents had cable box always, so there was once it came out they always had cable box. So we could watch on demand. I watched a lot of shows on demand to like watch from the beginning or catch up on them. So on demand was basically the first streaming, but you just had to watch same thing. You had to watch commercials, but and it
I
you
don't
couldn't
know if I had that.
you had to have a cable box. A lot of some people didn't back then. Some people did. It is what it is. But my mom, since we can get a cable box, my mom had one in the living room. So I used to sit in the living room and watch like shows from on demand from the beginning. If a network really wanted you to watch a show, they would put it on, like all episodes of it on air on the on demand so you could watch it. But I mean,
Okay.
shows like this following, there'd be like 2 or 3 episodes on of like the last 2 or 3 episodes, and that's it. And then you couldn't watch any
Yeah,
more.
see,
But
like I was actually watching this close after it came out. You didn't start watching it until the pandemic or something?
no, God no, I started watching this in like 2000. I started watching this like in 2012 when Netflix put it on finally.
Okay.
That's when
Okay,
I started
yeah.
watching it. But
See,
because my
2012, we were still getting the fucking discs delivered. Like my parents had Netflix. I did Redbox.
no, I had Netflix. I subscribed to Netflix at that point because, and my roommate best friend was like, "You gotta watch Supernatural." He's like, "You're gonna fucking love it." And I'm like, "Okay." I actually hesitated for a while to watch it, and then I started watching it. And I was like, "All right." Like we were really drunk one night, and he's like, "Put on Supernatural." I'm like, "Fine." And fucking I started watching it without him, and I got like basically caught up in like a month or two. But it was because I had like 7 or 8 seasons at that point to watch through, but it was good TV.
Yeah,
But
that's like when we started watching it, my I thought it was just gonna be like Gilmore Girls in the background, and then like she played the first 2 episodes, and I'm like, well, that's kind of fucking cool. And next thing you know, we're buying $60 box sets.
mm, no, fuck that. I haven't bought. I never bought DVDs of this shit. I didn't need to. But well, folks, the second episode we got tonight is season 1, episode 20, and it's called Dead Man's Blood, and it takes place in Manning, Colorado. Starts off in a bar where Daniel Elkins is writing in his journal, drinking Jack Daniels in a bar, and a girl and 2 guys enter, catches attention, and he leaves the bar in a hurry, and basically he gets back to his house, and he like locks the door, he runs, and this girl bursts in the door who he recognizes, and he runs into his office and barricades the door and tries to open a safe real fast and is loading a gun. And right as he's doing that, the 2 men jump through his skylights, which was pretty cool. And they pin him down to the table, and the girl bursts through the door right at that moment. And after, at that point, he's basically fucked, and he is murdered. He may have struggled a little bit. We don't see it. It's off screen if he did. But meanwhile, in a diner somewhere in Nebraska, Sam and Dean looking over newspapers for a job when they happen to see Elkin's death, and Dean recognizes the name from his dad's journal, and they decide to head out there. They go to the cabin, they find it torn apart and
Yeah.
ransacked, and they don't know it, but we see them being watched from somebody lurking in the property of the trees, and Dean finds the journal from Elkins and comments that's a lot like his father's, but he also finds a message, which is a combination to a P.O. box. And a mail drop, just the way that their father does it. And they pick open the post office box with a lock, with a pick and key. And they find a letter addressed to JW, and which they think could be their father. But they are looking at it in the car, trying to decide whether to open it. And all of a sudden, they get a knock at their window, and their father's standing there, and they surprise, and they're like, "Dad!" But they read the letter, and they realize that Elkins has been holding out on him about a legendary gun, that we find out about later in the episode. Actually, I'm not going to go to it now. And the boys realize that we're attacked. Elkins took the gun, and John tells them it's vampires, which Dean hysterically remarks to, "Vampires? I thought you never told us about vampires." And
I thought
his
that was a trip, dude.
it
Like
was it was
yeah, I thought because I mean later on it's kind of like demons. They're just like fist fighting fucking vampires. But this, like, I didn't know they didn't hunt vampires yet. I thought that was pretty cool.
well
I
as
forgot about
John.
it.
And me too. And I mean, as John said though, he thought that they were extinct, that Elkins and other hunters like him wiped them all out. But John tells him it's vampires and that they're going to hunt them together.
I
So
thought
this is
that was
actually our.
cool too. The fact that like it was a real thing, but they thought it was extinct. I thought that was a good fucking
But
like.
this it was. It really was. I mean, it was a good storyline thing, and it's also a first for this show because it's the first real time that Dean and Sam and hunt something with their father together. It had never happened before in this up to this point.
Yeah, kind of the fucking Meg,
They
the
were not hunting her
old
together.
demon.
Sam and Dean were dealing with it, and then John showed up at the end. They weren't hunting together.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They weren't hunting.
But they go back to the hotel, and Sam and Dean get some sleep while John's sitting there listening to a police scanner. And he hears an abandoned car left by a young couple, because as we see in the scene before this, a young couple is leaving a date, and as they're driving down the road, we see the vampires, and the girl tells the guy, "It's your turn," basically, and he goes and plays Dead Man in the Road, and makes the car stop, and then they use a typical tactic used by monsters to lure people into their fucking grips, but it happens. And John hears the call for it, and about a car being abandoned after a 911 call. And the interesting part of this is Sam starts to question John about why they need to do what he says, because Sam's a little fucking punk. And John's just like, just follow me. And when they get to the car,
That's how I feel
Sam,
with my kids. I will say that. That's how I feel with my kids. Like, shut up. You don't need to know. Just do what I'm telling you to do.
exactly, it's what you gotta do. But when they get to when they get to the car, John goes and talks to the police and investigates while Sam and Dean stay behind. And Sam is all being bitchy about it, and Dean's like, "Oh, here we go again." But John finds a vampire fang by the car, and that's when he explains to his boys that because Dean's like, "This is a vampire fang," and John's like, "No, that's their second set of teeth that comes out when they feed." Because vampires in this show actually have a second set of teeth, which is pretty fucking cool, I think. But they go back to the vampire nest, and Luther, the head of the vampires, shows up at their nest, a barn. And I gotta say, I love his Lost Boys like entrance when he opens the door, and there's all the fog and the car lights. He's like, dun, 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 dun. It's like fucking Lost Boys. Like I swear to God, I hate that fucking movie, but it was a Lost Boys entrance. Uh but and Kate shows Luther the freaking captive she has to feed off of, and she shows him the cult. And when he questions her about how she got it, she's like, "Oh, I killed the guy that had it. I killed Elkins. I tracked the scent, and I finally got rid of him for you." And Luther is horrified because if there's other people like him out there, they're gonna realize what did this and come after us. Revenge isn't worth much if you end up dead. But then he recognizes the gun and he's a little happy. But they cut
What
back
would
to
the
the hotel
vampires do with the gun, though? Like, what? Hold some demons up? Like, what good
I
is that to them?
because I think it can't be used against them, and that's why they'd want it.
Yeah, it's one fucking revolver, though. I don't know.
I
Seems a
mean, but
little
it's
weird.
it as we'll find out eventually in the show, it's the revolver. But
Yeah.
but Sam and John are still fighting as we go back to them, and John kind of tells them about vampires when they get to the nest to try to take them out, and he tells them like none of the lore is correct. The sun doesn't really kill them; it just gives them like a bad sunburn type thing. He's like they sleep during the day. That's true, but they can still wake up. And he says that a stake to the heart won't kill them, and that garlic doesn't repel them. None of the lore is true. We all know
Buffy
from pop
Buffy
culture.
was a fucking lie. CW
But
show too, I might add.
yep, and he says the only way to kill them is by beheading. But and then while they're basically getting the machetes out of their trucks, which I gotta say, how cool is John Winchester's fucking weapon trunk? It's it's like something of a video game the way it pops out and opens up. Like it's something of a fucking video game. I
I
fucking
was
love it.
wondering, is that remember the truck that I did the full description on? It was like that badass truck.
I don't, but
For the when they were running the black people off the road, and it turned out not to be
oh
like a racist. Is that the same fucking truck John Winchester's driving?
no, no, I don't think so. That was a completely different truck, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, John's truck is cool, and his weapon trunk is fucking amazing. And I love that he actually has a bottle that says holy water on it. but 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 this is when John tells them, like, do you want to know about the gun? And they're like, yeah, obviously. So he tells them that this gun was made by Samuel Colt back in the 1800s, and it was made for a hunter like them, but on horseback. And the gun was made with 13 bullets and can kill basically anything, which this comes into so much play later, folks. We'll get to that down the road, but it comes into so much play later.
Yeah,
And
you had
that's why,
storyline in your episode.
yeah, I'll go, yeah, because this is the beginning of the end of the season. And that's why John wants this Colt, is because it can kill the demon that killed his wife. That's why he reveals that's why he wants his guns, because it can kill the demon that killed his wife. So the three of them break into the nest, very parkourish, and Sam, being the fucking little goody goody bitch he is, goes to try to save the girl they kidnapped out of the car, and the girl screams when he wakes her up because she's obviously already starting to turn and is part vampire. And all the vampires wake up at that point and start trying to start chasing Sam and Dean and John. John yells, "Run, boys!" And the Sam and Dean run out of the barn with John following somewhat closely behind them. And John comes up with the plan to send Dean to a funeral home to obtain some dead man's blood, which apparently can poison vampires. And while he's gone, Sam and John have what Malachi would call a pussy moment, and a CW pussy moment. And they talk out some of the trauma from their past, mending some fences. But
Am
Dean
I
comes back
wrong?
with it. Yeah, it's part of the show. You can't hate on it. And there, it's family, dude. It's family. But Dean comes back, and John basically says, like, "Did you get it?" And Dean's like, "Of course." And he's like, "All right, well, you know what to do with it." So we don't know what they're doing with it, but Dean goes and does something. And basically, Dean pretends his car breaks down the side of the road, so that because John told him earlier that now that they were in the nest of vampires, that the vampires will have their scent forever. So the main female vampire, Kate, goes and sees Dean with a broken down car and starts to try to attack him, along with one of their other vampires. And at that time, she gets shot with an arrow dipped in dead man's blood, and so does the other vampire. And they kidnap Kate to draw Luther out. And this is our first time, folks, that we get to see a beheading of a vampire on the show, because they show it off screen, but they behead the African American vampire that was with Kate. So I mean, it's pretty cool. I wish they actually showed it, but it's fucking CW. And basically, they draw out Luther, and John's plan is to trade her for the gun. But and while he's dealing with Luther, we see Sam and Dean at the nest, killing the few vampires that are left there and freeing all the human prisoners. And it goes back to John versus Luther, and he asks, like, Luther basically says, like, "You're stupid to come out here alone. Where's your friends?" And John's like, "Oh, at your nest, clearing it out." But Luther fucking comes on out, and as he's about to kill John, he gets shot with an arrow, and Sam and Dean come running out of the woods, shooting a bunch of the vampires with the dead man's blood arrows, and they distract Luther, enough allowing John to grab the Colt. But at the same time, Sam is grabbed by Luther and held it, and he's like, "I'll break his neck. Give me Kate, or I'll break his neck." Put down the machete, and Dean puts down the machete, and right when you think that Luther's gonna go back on his word and just break Sam's neck anyway, John shoots him with the Colt, which I gotta say, I forgot about how awesome this is, because it's fucking awesome the way that the creatures die when they're shot with that gun. It's so awesome, like the way like that, like their soul basically leaves their body when they're shot with that gun. John gets a hell of a headshot too. You got something to add, Malachi?
No, I was just saying the face. I forgot I
Yeah,
was on mute there.
yeah. The fucking the headshot's pretty awesome, and we don't see it, but I mean, we pretty much assume that they killed the rest of the vampires at that point off screen, and and all the arguments from the episode come to a full head at the end when when John's like, "You disobeyed my orders," and Dean's like, "Yeah, we did, but you'd be dead if we didn't." And John finally realizes that they're stronger as a family than they are apart. So he says, "All right." The episode ends with him saying, "We'll hunt the demon together," and it leaves us at an interesting point for the next two episodes, which are the last two episodes of the season, folks. And we discussed possibly dipping into the second season as well for next week as well, just because you gotta go one episode into the next season. But I mean, yeah, this was a really fucking fun episode. And yeah, Dean actually mentions the previous episode in this one by mentioning Sam's love interest Sarah, because when they can't find a job, he's like, "Hey, maybe we go back to upstate New York and find Sarah for you." And
Yeah, that was a first. Like mentioning the prior episode, but I Dean didn't want anything to do with Meg. I don't know. Dean like knew Meg was up to no good. I guess he did in the beginning. Never mind. I'm fucked up.
I think he never was really trying to get Meg. He was just talking to her mostly, but
Yeah, it was
uh,
Dean trying to get him with Meg. You're right. I
and
totally
a,
screwed
a
that up.
a couple vampires did escape in this episode, and they actually come back later on, I believe. So we'll get to them eventually again. But there is some returning futurists, and I do love that there was a Stevie Ray Vaughan song in the beginning of this episode called "The House Is Rockin'." So I think it was at the bar, I'm pretty sure, but and Dean actually mentions a show from the '80s that I freaking loved called "That's Incredible," which was basically like one of the first paranormal shows where they actually like did reenactments of paranormal things like Bigfoot and like Loch Ness. So
I've never seen
Dean,
that.
I've seen random episodes of it on repeats when I was a kid, but I never actually watched like all of it. But it, like, cause Dean, I love how Dean the whole episode kept saying like he's like vampires. He's like every time I hear it, it gets funnier. Because the fact, I mean, he thinks vampires are like pop culture fucking fiction, but I mean, it's kind of cool they finally bring vampires into it in the first season, and vampires will play a huge part of this going forward, folks. I mean,
Yeah,
not as huge as other creatures, but they play a big part.
they're not like main storyline, but they are fucking throughout for the rest of the show. And that's
Yep.
what got me is I didn't realize that like they thought it was just pop culture shit and they were all extinct. I thought that was a good like that surprised me when I watched and I was like, "Oh shit."
Which I mean, even if they're extinct, that means that means they existed at some point. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. I thought that was good writing though.
I definitely did
Especially the
too.
part that they were like extinct and they did exist.
Yeah, but he thought that Elkins and all the other hunters killed them off, which would make sense because you would think hunters would do that if they, or at least hunters would do that if they thought they could. they would kill off all the vampires just so there's no more. But I mean, it's gotta be hard though, because I mean, how many
Yeah.
vampires are probably out? How many vampires in that world are probably just out there like living recluse as shit and killing like just enough to survive and getting by that?
Oh, for
I mean,
sure. Yeah.
kidnap one human and they could feed off it for fucking 40 years if they wanted to. I mean, just don't kill it. Just fucking feed enough just to survive and just keep it prisoner.
Or as we'll find out later, like working at the blood bank, right? Like
Oh, oh yeah, that does come up eventually. But I mean, it's if
just
I'm
holding
gonna rate
yourself off.
if I'm gonna rate this episode, this honestly is a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
I would do the same just because there's so much storyline for the future.
And and it and I will say I love the fucking hot vampire with the cowboy hat and the short skirt dancing when they go to the fucking nest. Oof, that was hot shit. But this would be a 5-star for me if they actually showed Luther and Kate getting it on rather than her just stripping down to a bra. Like I want to see some titties at least. Come on, make it a decent horror movie. Like come on,
I
but
don't think you're getting to a 5-star, my friend.
not on CW. Not CW, but I honestly wish they had like an unrated version of this that they just filmed for reasons, and then Netflix released it eventually. Like that'd be awesome, but I doubt. I know it doesn't exist, so
Yeah,
no
dude,
hopes.
they weren't even thinking about that back then.
No, not at all.
2006, we are so fucking old.
I graduated high school that year, so yes, but I feel old as shit. Thank you, but I graduated high school. I graduated high school that year, and this is the first season of this fucking show for God's sake. So Jesus, but well, folks, we gave you 2 episodes this week. Come back next week for a big 3 episode episode. A big 3 episode with 2 different seasons in it. As we finish off season 1 and kind of break into season 2 for an episode. Just to see where the storyline goes to in the next season. But Malachi, you got anything else before we head out for the night?
No, everybody have a great night.
Have a good week, folks. We'll see you next week for another Supernatural Sunday.